So maybe I'll very quickly start from my story because I think it's perhaps slightly different. I myself immigrated from Russia 7 years ago, and I had 3 degrees at that point in time. I couldn't find a job in the UK. I had a lot of challenges with getting a work permit because to prove that I can do a job, the job had to prove that they couldn't find anyone in Europe or UK that can do this job. Right? And for a graduate job, nobody wants to do it. So I did get a job in Accenture, which is ultimately a technology consulting company. And they did tell me that the reason they chose me among all the different things of what I've done is because I have the wonderful degrees in mathematics as a math scientist trained in Russia, right? So that's kind of my experience. I personally think 3 degrees is a little bit too much, in particular if you don't have to prove that you're the one and only person in the UK and they couldn't find anyone else in another country. But to answer to Dimple's point, I think, consultancies are looking for people. At the moment, it's more and more in the digital space. It's both the smaller consultancies and the big players like Accenture, KPMG, etc. What I see is they're very interested in hiring, the passionate individuals for specific roles like maybe cloud consulting or data analytics. It's nice if your degree kind of aligns to it. But I've been seeing that just because of the shortage in the market and all the other different skill sets which a consultant is valued on, they are very keen on, a variety of degrees.
Thanks very much. Emma, do you want to take this one?
Sure, I'll add to that and say, I guess from my perspective, I have never hired anyone because they had a degree. I don't even look at that section on the CV. What I'm interested in is what experience do they have, where have they been before, what do they know, and certainly when it gets to when we're able to actually engage and do interview and pairing and actually experience who this person is, the skills I'm looking for have generally nothing to do with whatever degree or they may or may not have done. What I'm looking for are problem solving and collaborative skills and how do they approach things. So yeah, I don't even look at that section. And again, maybe it's partly that relevance to my own story as well, in that I never had one. I think the only time it's really struck my notice is nothing to do with computer science degrees or tech or anything, but I remember a couple of times when I've met somebody and I've gone, oh, they've got a philosophy degree, that's interesting, or someone with anthropology, that was amazing. I had somebody once with a PhD in astrophysics and I'm like, I definitely want to speak to this person, that's really cool, but it had nothing to do with the role that I was employing them for or interested in. It was just, this is someone with a really interesting field of study and this is a mind I would want to engage with. But from my own story and perspective, I never set out to learn how to code. It was never a career I wanted to go into. It wasn't part of my plan, but I had a problem to solve, a business problem that needed to be solved, and so I figured out the tools I needed to go and do that, and what I ended up doing was writing a little program. So I designed a database and wrote a program and taught myself the skills I needed to solve the problem. Now that became a very transferable skill, and somebody noticed, and one of the IT director of the company I was at the time went, hang on a minute, you did what? Like, that's not the job that you're there to do, perhaps you're in the wrong job. And then they pulled me into the tech department, and that's how I ended up a developer and eventually a DBA. But it wasn't that I ever set out to do it and nobody taught me it, but it came from a problem solving perspective. And I think if anyone I'm interested in people who are able to demonstrate that logical way of thinking and approaching problems and understand, have a business problem to solve, and I can help figure out what the solution is and use the right technologies to go and do that, then that's the type of mind that I'm interested in. And I would love to think that in the future we can bring in more junior people, and they're the skills I'll be looking for, not whether or not they've got a degree in it. I think technical skills are easy to teach, actually. It's more about have you got the right mindset and approach to how you solve a business problem. That's what's really valuable.